Okay, there we go. We've been waiting around about 20 minutes, I suppose, 15-20 minutes to see what we've got. Lay this out again. Immediately off the bat, I have to say, brilliant. I can't fault it. It's on a par with Model Air. Went down extremely well. No spitting, you know, no build up on the needle either, or anything else like that. It did exactly what it did, and as you can see on there, for an overall, it's great. And when you look on the close up, we've got a pretty good finish all over that. I can't actually fault it in any way. I heard rumours, to be honest. Obviously I went online, had a look, see what people were saying. People were saying, oh, it's not very nice and this, that and the other. My point of view, worked a treat. No problem with that at all. Really, really happy. So what we're going to do now is literally just break it up a little bit. The pre-shading breaks it up. And don't get me wrong, it gives you this type of effect, which just breaks it down and everything else like that. So what we want to do now is just slightly lighten it, because we're going to come along with further weathering later on, washes, filters, things like that. We just need to bring it up a level. But what we can do is fade out centers of panels, just to give that look of bleaching and everything else. So a couple of different options for this. Obviously I'm just going to use a standard white paint. I do believe this is my empty one. Yeah, that's the one we don't want. That one's just ready for cleaning. Okay, so we're just going to take some Tamiya XF1. Don't take any notice of the bottom, it's just where I've used it as a mixing peg. Okay, we've got a little bit in there. It's a little bit crispy around the top of the bottle. The other option is to obviously use a bit of Model Air. Actually, I think we will do Model Air. That's a little bit crispy and I haven't got lots of it. So what I'm going to do is, again, like we did before, this one hasn't got a stainless steel anything in it, so we're just going to pop one of these guys in. One of these. Okay, so exactly the same as you did before. We're just going to take the top off. Okay. Top goes off, one of these guys goes in, top goes back on. We're just going to clean that bit of rubbish off the top. And it is my only downside to these bottles, is getting paint in and out of them can be somewhat of a messy, bit of a chore to get it all in there. Alright. So, this one, to be honest, I haven't used for gotta be 6 months. Okay, so we'll just give it a good old hefty bit of work. Okay, so when you're doing this next process of just lightening out, again, it's one of those things, you don't have to worry too much about it. You go for an overall effect, you're not trying to change anything massively. Okay, so all we're going to do is, we've still got our original colour down in here. All right, we're going to add the base colour, but before we do that, we're going to take some, and we're going to put in here probably around about 1/2 ml. Then we're going to do 1/2 ml of this. Okay. And we're going to give this a little bit of a mix up. All right, just down in here. Okay, no problem at all. It mixes very well. It does like the actual Vallejo thinners. All right, so then we're going to take some white. And as I said, we're not trying to change anything massively. All we're literally just trying to do here is just going to add a couple of drops. So we do a few little drops like that. They're not big drops going in. And then we're just going to give it a mix up. I'm just going to lighten the shade a little bit. Now, I know I've got this a bit close. What you're looking for when you're doing anything like this is use a brush and just see if you can actually see the hairs on your brush straight away. If you can't, your paint's too thick, okay? I know I spray my paint a lot thicker than most people, and often we talk about consistency of milk and double cream, forget all that. I tend to spray a lot thicker. Neat paint like this, as we know, works a treat. So by thinning it down, what this will enable us to do, one, is make a lighter, thinner coat. Because it's thinner, it's not going to have the coverage that a traditional paint has, so you're not going to ruin any work straight away. So you can just come in like this now, check our flow, okay, happy how that is. And all we're going to do is like literally big areas in panels just like this, okay? And we want it to be nice and random. So some of them I'll do up and downwards, others I'm going to do zigzaggy motions, others you'll see me do sort of figures of 8. Okay, and that is literally just to keep it all broken up, so looking all different. And once I get going like this, I'm not going to stop. We're just going to carry on going through the motions of all this. Some of it's going to get quite heavy, others will be quite light. Okay, some of this types of ribbing. Okay, as I say, it's all personal preference on how much you go in and exactly what you do. But what also this does, you might see, I hope here on the overhead, get the glare off this wing perhaps, you can see it brings the pre-shading out again, alright? What I'll do is I'll do one wing at a time and I'll show you what we're trying to achieve here. Okay. A little bit in there like that one. So that's that wing done. So I'll just work on this wing now. Okay. The other thing as well, if you've got a situation where your pre-shading is a little bit strong and perhaps you need to knock it back just a little bit, you can go over it with this just to take it back an edge. So if you've got a bit that's sticking out, it's looking a little bit wrong, then you can easily take care of it now. Big panels I tend to do the more rounded movements. Little ones I tend to shoot in there a little bit more accurate. And sometimes, especially when you're doing a model of this size, you can't actually see where you're going because you can't get that overall look and look down at it, all right? But don't worry too much about that, because what you can actually do is just look for the wetness of the reflectiveness of your actual paint going down, and that will give you just an equally good guide of looking at it direct. But because you're in a situation where this is literally just a filter over the top, for want of a better word. I know lots of people talk about filtering and various things about it, and I know I say a lot of it's rubbish, okay, but this is that type of thing. But hopefully you can see now, we've lightened this up now. As I say, it's a big old beast chucking around. But all we're going to do now, and to be honest, I'm just going to put this extractor on because it gets a bit hazy at this point, and we're just going to pop this guy on. We're going to lay down a filter. Now a filter is literally just, as you can imagine, like photographic or any type of cinema work. It's just by putting a layer which changes the shade or the tone or whatever of what's behind it. So in our case it's paintwork. So all we're going to do, making sure we've got a good amount, we're just going to lay down a colour right over it like that. Okay. Now, as I say, it does get a bit, hopefully you can see this wing is all sort of blended. There's no like white patches in the middle, even on the reflective, where over here it's a little bit patchy. To be honest, this paint's actually very good. I'm enjoying using this paint, but it just brings it all in. And then what we'll do is we're going to go around with darker things and darken up different areas and things like that afterwards. But for the moment, we're just trying to get that all over effect on both sides. So hopefully when you look at it like this, this is quite blended in, this is a little bit, you know, sharp in some areas, alright? So all we're going to do is just going to do that exact same thing again. So we're just going to knock up a bit of thinners, not going to need tons in here. 50-50 mix with the thinners. Just in there like that. Okay, there, we come in with those drops of paint. Pop that in, give it a good mix. This one looks a little bit darker, so I think I've overshot with the original colour, with the white. So we're just going to put some of that original RLM 65 in there. Give it a mix. Looking a bit thick for the bristles, so I'm just going to add a little bit more thinners in the mix. That's looking quite good. Okay, check our flow. And your test areas where you spray, you can see if you've got the same colour. Okay, so what we're going to do now, again, we're just going to filter in. Okay, just like that. You can see how good the spray booth works. I don't know if you can see that, but what was thrown up here just got pulled straight back down and away we go. Okay, so there we go. That one's done just like there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add a little bit more white to the mix. Okay, we're just going to go around now and be a bit more selective where we go with this very light colour. Okay, so we haven't thinned anymore, so we've slightly thickened it and everything else like that. I'm running out of places to grab this, to be honest. Alright, we'll do it as a head on. When you do the spray test, you'll see the proper colour come through. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out certain little areas. Okay, so we're not doing the entire of a panel now. We're literally just picking out. You might see those little bits down there. Okay, and this is the thing we're just trying to do now, is just give this a little bit of breakup. And this is something that really won't come alive until we've actually got the next colours down on there. Okay, because this will just come more to life with the darker shades, but at the moment it might look a little bit strong. You can come in and swirls and lines and gadgety things. Because all this is going to do is hopefully just break all this up, and it's starting to look very sort of mottly. And with this you can go over the pre-shading and but what you don't want to do is just do an entire section. This is just to break it up. Okay, so now when you look at this wing, it's pretty blotchy, yet to this one's quite smooth. Oops, things around. And this is the type of effect we're going for, so it has a more randomness to it, okay? And you're being a bit closer. And again, with this technique, if you've got any problems anywhere, you can literally take care of that. Get in there nice and close with it. Okay, and again, really ripping it up. And again, whoops. Okay, when things like that happen, me getting carried away. Alright, don't panic, pat it dry. Okay, all we do, don't panic, pat, pat, pat. Don't rub, because you'll go down to plastic, okay? All we're going to do is going to pat, pat, pat. Literally like that, all over. Okay, we're just going to get in here. But say, if you pull, you'll take it all out, okay? So all we're going to do this as a live thing. Alright, I won't cut the camera now. We're going to leave that there, forget about it, alright? We're going to go off and do elsewhere. Exactly the same method. Make sure you clean the side. If you got any drips, we haven't, it was a jump. That's what you get for not using a top on your thing. Alright, so we're just going to come down here. blend that through. Okay. So happy with how that is. We'll come back to this guy now. Alright, so this is on there. We're just going to blend it in. Just like so. Now, where it is, this is one of those areas. You wouldn't have to panic because you could just go in and take care of that. Alright? But from our point of view, all we'll do is, I'm just trying to use up some paint if I'm honest. Okay. We'll do, just emptying off the paint. Okay, so now we can get the original colour back in. Okay, just give us a quick mix. Okay, now this is going to be a thick, original type of colour now, but not quite, because it will be thinned a little bit. And then all we're going to do is going to go in reverse, and we're going to try and blend this guy back in. Okay? So we're just going to go a little bit further than we need everywhere. Okay, and there we go. So don't panic, it's not a thing. We can go back in there, and as we will, we'll dry it down. Okay, and as you can see, when you change it in the different light directions like that, it's not really a problem, it's just lost the blotchiness. But many times people panic and wipe, and if you wipe, good night, because you're down a primer, you've got to build up and all the rest of it that goes with it. Okay, so that's that done. So we've done the light work, very patchy all over it and everything else like that. So all we're going to do is going to go the other way now. And we're actually going to put in, if we just turn that one off, we're going to go in with darker colour. So we're doing this thing a bit like the modulation sets we looked at when we did the armour. We're doing the same, but just I've got black and white. You can use grey and all the rest of it. It's only because I've got the black here. Okay. Now, this, as you can see, is very, very dark. Okay, but it's also very, very thin. And because it's thin, it shouldn't do too much. As in, it will look terrible to start with, but with any luck, it should give us what we're after. Okay, so we're going to blow through till we've got the dark stuff coming through. Checking your needles nice and clean and everything else like that. And again, not covering, we're just trying to, you know, fix problems and just give some things. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the pre-shading we've lost back in just a little bit. Okay, so we're just going to go in. I'm just going to give it a bit of a stain like this, a bit of a stain, okay, coming across, and hopefully as you can see we've now blended that back in. Alright, so what we're going to do, exactly the same as we said before, we're just going to pop around randomly and just going to pick out, put this one down, some little bits. So as you say, it doesn't cover totally, so don't worry about it too much. Oh, get down these guys. But we're not trying to completely go over. Then again, filtering in, quick over the top of everywhere there. And there we go. Hopefully we're getting that dirty look to the wing in there, just like that. Okay, so we can go in here a little bit harder, and what we'll do, we'll come back in and do lighter type things. Because all we're trying to do with a model of this scale as well, especially, is get rid of that brickiness, and a lot of this won't jump out at you until we've actually got the wash on there. When the wash is on there and it's in the panel lines and in that riveting detail, it should then all start to jump out. For the moment, this is literally just a bit of a nuisance, if anything, just to try and get this paint to not look like it's a brick. Okay, so just a light blow over this area with it, and then hopefully you can see the difference between the wing, okay, and everything else. And it's all it is a very quick simple technique. Okay, so there we go, just going in, and again filtering right the way over, just to knock it back, just a touch, okay, all the time. Okay, so this side again, we're just going to come back, give it another coat. Okay, so there we go, that's the type of thing we're going for. And as I say, I know it's heavily weathered, but that's what we're going for in this particular one. We want to fade out this underside, we're trying to make dirty, top side we're going to lighten. So it's as simple as that. But when you compare the tail to the wings, you can see this type of effect we're going with. And don't forget, if you think it's too strong, just overcoat it with the original colour. You can knock it back a shade or two, or as we're going to do in a moment, we're going to go in with the original colour and do some touch-ups. Okay, so just keeping it going. Every now and again, check your airbrush, check your needle. Obviously the underside, especially around this tail area, is going to get pretty dirty. The These wing areas at the back, don't worry too much. We're going to put some black on there from the exhaust, because the exhaust on the Hyper tended to catch it at the rear. But certainly we're just trying to emphasise dirt and grime and everything else. And this is what this is. It's a mixture of dirt, grime, pre-shading, post-shading, and everything getting in there. And in here especially, the great thing is we've got all this lovely riveting detail, so we can get in there and actually weather that quite a bit. Again, nice little filter right over just to get everything together. Gets it all on the same page, literally. Okay, so there we go. That's pretty good. Very happy with how that is. So now, hopefully, including our accident, if you can tell where it was, that's the type of stage we got. Okay, so I know we're getting a little bit misty in here, so we'll take care of that. But certainly that's our underside of what we're actually going with and everything else. Alright, so she's pretty dirty, she's pretty messy and everything else like that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let that dry off. Again, we're going to give it 20 minutes just so it's handleable. Really, it's about the amount of time this takes to be able to handle it. Then what we're going to do is come back in with the original colour, just do some bits and pieces just to break it up even further.